Greetings, everyone. Let's start again today. I've been off of this for a little while. Let me give you some background into what we were dealing with, and I'm sorry I've taken so long to come back to this. But as you remember, I was speaking about TFL and when I worked there and their practices, and what they've been doing. As we all know, first of all, before I actually get started, I need to do something here. Now, this all started with the two compliance officers who told the driver to take the paper out of his cab, which he should not have done, but hey, hindsight is a wonderful thing. So, the driver didn't know at the time. But anyway, please, I have to say to all the drivers out there, while we may not like some of these things they're doing, please do not insult them, do not threaten them, do not swear at them. Try your best to be civil to them. They've been put in this position by TFL. Okay? So please, let's not, try your best and do not insult them, please. Because personally, I can't support anybody who is insulting the compliance officer. Because while I may not like it myself, but at the same time, let them do their job. Okay? As long as we know we're above board, then we have nothing to worry about. So, really, just do not threaten and insult them. Please, just let them get on with their work. Please. Also, I like to add as well, an incident happened at Waterloo station with me yesterday. As you know, the work's going on in Waterloo station, so the station approach road is closed. You cannot get out to Westminster Bridge Road, so the rank has been moved to come in from Spur Road. You have TFL staff at the bottom of that Spur Road, and you have some guys there who look like compliance officers, but they are not. They're what TFL call RTOs. Now, when I was an examiner, when I wrote RTO on somebody's file, it meant they committed a road traffic offense. Under TFL now, these guys called RTOs are road traffic officers. Right. One of them tried to stop me yesterday on the zebra crossing in Spur Road to pick some people up. I tried to explain to him that he should send them to the taxi rank. Now he wants to know why I wouldn't pick them up. And I'm saying to him, well, we have an etiquette in the cab trade. Even if he doesn't know about it, there's an etiquette amongst cab drivers. He said to me, well, you would pick them up on Bayless Road. I said, yes. But once I've entered the compound of Waterloo Station, then that is a no-no. Also, you're asking me to break the law by stopping on a zebra crossing. Now, if these are the kind of people TFL are going to employ to come and deal with drivers, believe you me, and I know a lot of people don't like him, but Donald Trump made a statement. That swamp needs cleaning out, which is TFL. Okay? A lot of those people at the head need to go because they're useless. All right. Again, as I said, please leave the compliance officers alone. Let them do what they got to do. All right. So what's prompted me now with all of this? We will go now to, and remember, TFL forced that driver, well, the compliance officers forced that driver to remove that article from his cab, because they said TFL cannot be seen to be promoting negative messages about Uber. Well, what are they now going to say about the police officer? And let's get his name right. His name is Inspector. It is Inspector Neil Billany. Okay? What are they now going to say about the Sunday Times who printed this article? Are they now going to tell the Sunday Times, oh, you can't print nothing negative about Uber? Who gave TFL this power? Well, we have to look at this. Now they're trying to discredit that police officer. Well, I'm going to defend that police officer and say, well, hang on a minute. It doesn't matter whether he may have used black cabs to get married in, or we don't care really. What really matters is what he wrote. Is it right or is it wrong? And if he is wrong, then take him to task. But if he is right, it doesn't matter what kind of vehicles he used for his wedding, does it? Yes? I mean, he goes on here and he says, Uber has been accused by police of failing to report sex attacks and other serious crimes committed by its drivers, and of obstructing officers trying to investigate them. Now, come on. Are you all telling me this is the kind of business you want running in London? And I'm going to keep calling out the mayor here. Yeah, you want to tell people, oh, that London is open for business. Is this the kind of business you want London to be open for? Law breaking? Is that what you intend to promote? All of you who defend this, that's what you are doing. You're promoting law breaking. Okay? And that's what you're trying to tell the people. You're trying to fool the people and make them believe this is okay. Well, no, it's not. All right, he goes on and he says, the company, which operates in more than 20 British cities and 633 worldwide, faces a license review in London, its biggest European market. Now, he says here 20 British cities. Here we have TfL issuing these roundels to guide to individuals to go and work anywhere in this country on the Uber. They're not concerned about the people they're putting out of work, other cab drivers in other cities, yes, who are trying to make a living. Some of these cities are not as succulent as London, okay? But you're letting these guys go out into these cities with TfL roundels. Now, Reading has blocked them. And I suggest every other city where these guys turn up with these TfL roundels should remove them. Don't tell me these councils in these other cities haven't got that power. Any car you see with these roundholes in your city, you should remove them. Okay? Because TfL is wrong in what they're doing here. There's a cash cow for TfL. And you're licensing these peoples with impunity to go anywhere. And this is not right. Okay, this officer, he goes on now and he says, Inspector Neil Billany, head of the Metropolitan Police Taxi and Private Hire Unit, said he had significant concern that Uber seemed to be deciding what crimes to report, telling police only about less serious matters. This would be less damaging to its reputation. Now, people, come on. You can't tell me that you're going to sit there, especially young women, and ignore this. What does it take? One of you to get raped or worse first before you decide that, okay, enough is enough? Because I'm telling you all now, TfL are putting your lives in danger. All right, we go on here. Billany accused Uber of allowing situations to develop that clearly affect the safety and security of the public by keeping from police crimes committed by drivers, including at least 6 sexual assaults on passengers, 2 public order offences and assault. In at least one of the 6 cases, Uber continued to employ the driver, who went on to commit more sex attacks against a second woman passenger. Billany said, had Uber notified police after the first offence, it would be right to assume that the second would have been prevented. This is what TfL is allowing on the streets of London. Okay? And all of those people at the top who are the ones that endorse this so-called Uber, you're as guilty. You're aiding and abetting in law breaking. And you should be taking account for this. Right? And he goes on. The victims complained to Uber and were left strongly under the impression it would tell the police, but it did not do so. He added, in the year of February 2017, that is this year, people, Scotland Yard recorded 48 allegations of sexual assaults involving Uber drivers. And before people start to try and compare this to black cabs, remember I said before, we had John Warboys years ago, which we all regret about him, and we all apologize to the public for someone like him. Okay? But this, 48 allegations since February. In February. This year. How many of you had against the black cabs of this manner? This year. Right. Then he goes on. Uber drivers mostly reported by passengers, but some made via the regulator, Transport for London. Billany said Uber's failure to report the public order cases meant that the Met learned too late to prosecute. The letter dated April 17th and sent to Helen Chapman. People, Helen Chapman, she's the head of the TfL to do with the taxis. Okay? Right. Sent to Helen Chapman, head of taxis and private hire at TfL, was obtained under the Freedom of Information Act by the chairwoman of the London Assembly Transport Committee, Caroline Pigeon, who I have met before and, you know, I find to be all right lady. Right. She said she was very concerned, adding, this apparent cover-up of reports such as serious criminal activity is shameful. Now the word cover-up. I can remember, and I'm going to switch from that for a minute. And I'm going to go to something here where she says cover-up. Because one of the time, TfL, as I said, they themselves accuse me, and I'll read the letter to you instead of explaining. I used to write for a magazine called United Cabbies. There it is, and I think you can still find it online. Okay, where I had a column called Courtney's Corner. All right. And as I said, I have left the Sunday Times thing because I think I've read enough there to what's going on. So I'm going to get into some of this so you can see what I'm talking about here with TfL and how they have been for years. This did not just start yesterday. And a lot of this has been going on before Sadiq Khan became mayor. Right. So here we go. I received this letter from TfL from the legal department signed by Abi Amin. 23rd of April 2013. Publication of misleading and inaccurate article. We are instructed by the London Taxi and Private Hire Directorate of Transport for London and write with regard to an article published in the United Cabbies Group magazine, April the 13th, 2013 edition, which bears your name as the author. So, hang on before we go any further. They said this article was published, yes, on April the 13th, 2013. Well, people, the article was not published, if you can see, until May the 13th. A month later. But they got my article before it was printed. Here, they threatened me. They says, in this article, Courtney's Corner, misleading and unsubstantiated and inaccurate statements are made about TfL management and one of its employees, Nicola Danvers, implying that Miss Danvers and members of TfL management are corrupt and incompetent. Well, hang on a minute. And I am going to go to something else, okay? I claim they were corrupt and incompetent. Well, aren't they? Aren't we seeing that now? Eh? Aren't we seeing that they are corrupt? And the bit about the incompetence, we'll deal with that now. Okay, and I'm sorry, people. You know, I'm not that professional to have everything set out at hand. But I am going to show you what I mean when I said about incompetent. Okay? If I can just find it, and I will read it to you. Since they think that I accuse them of incompetence. Here we go. And let's read this. Right. First of all, let me start by saying, I wrote this to Ed Thompson, by the way, in 2007. Right. I think I had just handed in my resignation at the carriage office, if I'm correct. Right. First of all, let me start by saying how disappointed I am in statements being made by the Mayor's office and the London Development Agency concerning the greatest taxi service in the world, race and gender. At this time, there are many black and Asian men, black and white females who are driving taxis in London. There are many more on the knowledge, and there are many more applying for the knowledge. And do you know why that is? It is because we want to. Not because of government funding or that we are some special case. No, sir. It is because we want to. I think the mayor, who was Ken Livingstone at the time, I think the mayor and the London Development Agency have lost sight of this. As you know, I have been an examiner for 13 years. I've been driving for 13 years now. 6 of those years I have spent doing the job I hold and respect dearly as a Knowledge of London examiner at the Public Carriage Office. There are many more that have been driving before me. We are all proud and humbled by what we had to go through to gain the coveted green badge. Because it is only when you start to work as a London taxi driver, you then begin to realize what all of those nights of lost sleep, social time and hardship were for. But now, between the Mayor and the LDA, they are about to strip away that proudness, that humbleness, that self-respect we have all worked so hard to gain. What I was trying to tell them is, look, all of this harping on about race and everything, you are making people question our ability. And that's still happening today, okay? You think you speak for us, that you know best for us, when you don't know, yeah? You're making people question whether we have done the knowledge or not. People are thinking, oh, did he get it because of his color? You've put us in this position. And when we challenge it, we get accused of having an attitude problem. Then we have to face you on the complaint section. This is not right. So I will carry on. And I says here, I have spent the last year working with the Fair Cities Black Taxi Scheme. From the outset, I have voiced my disagreement with this idea of funding certain groups only. I have always believed and said that it was wrong and it will cause disharmony, not harmony. And sadly now my words have come to pass. I feel used and abused because that's how TFL made me feel. All right. The Mayor keeps on about how the cab trade does not reflect the diversity of London. He keeps mentioning the ratio of white drivers to the amounts of blacks, Asians and women driving. What he doesn't mention is that the Public Carriage Office is a public building open to all, no matter what race, sex or religion you are. Now, I'm not going to read no more. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to read you the response that was given to me when I put this in. Okay? And this was sent back to me on the 25th of October, 2007. This was sent back on the 25th. Right. It starts. Courtney, I am away on Monday and Tuesday. If you are around next week, contact Lorraine so we can discuss it. I just like to make the following points for now. The PCO has a job to do and aims to do it well. Don't let external factors get in the way. One of our tasks in the light of the LDA project launch is to put right any statement from any ignoramuses outside that this has any bearing on the standard or the testing of the knowledge. The PCO, particularly knowledge examiners, will treat all candidates fairly and equally. How candidates fund themselves or are funded is none of our business. That is our line. Well, hang on a minute. You gave me a pay rise to go and set this thing up in Brent. TFL paid me, not the Fair Cities people who started it. It was TFL that paid me. I still have those wage slips in the loft today. How can you now say it was nothing to do with you and that is your line? You supported it. Right. Then he goes on and he says, PCO staff must not publicly go around lobbying on mayoral policies. This is not a freedom of speech issue. It is a PCO integrity issue. Lobbying against mayoral TFL PCO policy would call into question how objectively we can do our jobs. Now you've recognized that you're not doing your job properly since before 2007. It is now 2017. Okay? And you're trying to say that, oh, this has just started? No. You recognize this and you wanted me to keep quiet. That's why you said this here about publicly go around lobbying mayoral policies. Right. Then he goes on and he says, I know you feel strongly personally about this, but my guess is that there are some pretty dubious elements who dislike the LDA measures, but for entirely different and not very honorable reasons. Primarily racist, in my view. Here we go. That racist word has cropped up again. And that seems to be the case of the white do-gooders who like to ball this racist word as soon as they want to get other white people quiet. And a classic example is that Labour politician, I think her name is Sarah Champion, who the only mistake she made was not to put the word some in her sentence. Okay? And they ridiculed that lady for what she said about the Pakistani grooming group. Now, Jeremy Corbyn should have stood shoulder to shoulder with her, but he didn't. And these are the kind of people we voting for, people. Yes? And I say, long live Sarah Champion. All right. So getting back to this now. He goes on here and he says, but for entirely different honorable reasons, primarily racist in my view. Please don't associate your principal stance with such Torags. Now, this is 2007. So for 10 years, some of the management of TFL, this is how you've seen the cab driver, especially the white cab driver, as a racist and a Torag. Okay? This is the management. You see them as Torags. All right. Now, pertaining to the black and Asian drivers now, this is what they now tell me. Please don't think you have to carry this particular torch. If other black and Asian drivers feel like this, let them make their views known themselves. So there you go. Yes, not only are they attacking the white drivers now, they're telling me the black drivers, don't worry about them. Yeah, this was 2007. Yes? And that was sent to me by them. Right. And when we go back to this article now, where you see I've written here, they've got racist and Torags, if you can see it. I don't know if you can see it, because I wrote this article and they turned and they said to me, I am printing unsubstantiated accounts. Well, I have it all here in writing, since they think I haven't got any proof. Okay? And we can go through it all, but I won't go through all of that. So, we come now and we look at this now and we say, okay, and I'm going to go through some more stuff to show you what TFL has been like, because they didn't want this kind of thing to happen. So here we go. Yeah? Now, I tried, yeah, to get something introduced on the knowledge. And if I can show you, this was the leaflet I printed. I don't know if you can read it there, but I think it's coming up upside down. But I'll read it. Knowledge of London students. Do you have difficulty with the pronunciation of your English language, of the English language, especially during your callovers or appearances? Then please don't hesitate to contact Miss Ruth Boswell at Knowledge for You, which was my knowledge school at the time. Yes? And I tried to have this introduced. I sent an email to a man by the name of Simon Buggy at the carriage office, explaining to him and showing to him, well, look, this is open to everybody. Okay? Even private hire drivers at the time, I thought, you know what? If this lady can teach them to pronounce the words, it's better. And bearing in mind, if you can speak another language as a London cab driver, you're a brilliant London cab driver. But you must be able to converse in English. All right. He actually sent back to me and told me to contact Nicola Danvers, the same lady that they claims that I caused distress. Nicola Danvers. Right. He told me to contact her. So, I sent her an email. Because he sent back to me, and this is what he said. Hi, Courtney. He said, we have no problem with Ruth attending to witness some appearances as requested. Can either you or Ruth contact Nicola directly to arrange? So he told her to accommodate me, because I thought if this was introduced, then it would make it easier on the examiners, especially the white examiners, who literally are tied, because they got to be careful what they say, you know, in case they're accused of racism or whatever. How is this testing anyone? You're literally ruining the standards to see diversity, and that is not right. Okay? So I thought this would be introduced. Right. Now, I sent that Nicola Danvers an email explaining to her. This was her response. Courtney. Not hi Courtney, not hello Courtney, just Courtney. Simon did inform me that you are instigating this process. Listen to the word, instigating, you know. Right. Then she goes on. I will ensure that I accommodate Mrs. Boswell when she contacts me. So please give her my contact details. I think it best that I meet her independently of you. I look forward to hearing from. Now here's me trying to introduce this thing, but she doesn't want to deal with me. Then the next thing she does, when that lady comes to sit in on that appearance, she made her sit in the appearance with a white Englishman. And that lady called back and said to me, Courtney, what am I supposed to do for him? I goes, well, why? What's happened? She said, well, they put me in there with a white guy who already speaks English. What am I meant to do for him? The next morning, Nicola Danvers called me at home on my phone. And the way she spoke to me, I put the phone down on her. And I complained to Simon Buggy about her. Okay? She sabotaged it. Alright? Then I go back. I now get letters from TFL's legal team telling me that I have caused her distress. Right. That article was printed anyway. Then they go on here to say, we refer to the publication, as they says, letter dated the 30th of April. Yeah? And in here, they now says, we note that the article has now been published despite concerns raised in our previous letter. Our client remains of the view that the content of this article is unsubstantiated and entirely inappropriate. Well, since it's I can't even say the word, unsubstantiated, what am I doing with all this stuff? Eh? What am I doing with all this stuff? Since it doesn't know ground, what am I doing with all this stuff? Okay. Then he goes on here now and he says, yes, your suggestion that our client's concerns about the publication are racially motivated is without any foundation and is firmly denied. Well, since that's the case, let me switch now. And I'm going to go to a complaint I took out against a mayoral advisor who was the mayoral advisor on race or whatever for Ken Livingston at the time. And this was sent by, at the time, the head of the carriage office, Roy Ellis. It was sent to Peter Hendy. And it starts, Peter, he says, I have been handed a statement by Courtney Connell, our Rastafarian Knowledge of London examiner. Now, I am a staff of TFL at the time. This is how you describe me to Peter Hendy, while at the same time you were calling the white cab driver a racist. Who is the racist here? Then you now tell me in your letter, oh, racially motivated is without any foundation and is firmly denied. Everything I went through with you, TFL, I believe that had some part of it. Because you didn't like the way that this black man was speaking to you about certain things. Okay? And you do it here with Roy Ellis. Okay? Where he describes me as our Rastafarian Knowledge of London examiner. Yes? He goes on here, in which he makes allegations against, I'm not going to say his name at the moment, right? You may recall meeting Courtney when he had a problem with a certain person some time ago in respect of a photograph he wanted taken of Courtney with the mayor, and remarks he made to Courtney that he was effectively thinking white. Now, you're still going to tell me I'm writing unsubstantiated stuff. Because this did happen in TFL. Because when they told me I was thinking white, I broke down in tears like a baby. Okay? And my line manager saw this at the time, who took me to see Roy Ellis. And then they sent me to Peter Hendy. And that's what he's talking about up here. Now he talks about the incident that happened at a reggae concert with me and that person. When that person accused me of stopping black people from doing the knowledge. Why? Because I wouldn't go along with them making the knowledge easier so they could see more black and Asian drivers on the streets of London. Right. And he goes on here as he says, I regard it as reverse racism, which I did. And then he goes on down here and he says, Courtney wants this treated as a complaint and is considering going to the media. The PCO is, however, anxious to keep a lid on this issue. Right. He goes on, he tells you everything. Then he talks about the mayor making press conferences about the knowledge and everything. I remember being taken out to dinner by Ed Thompson, and all the while I didn't realize they wanted me to drop this complaint. At the end he says here, I believe this may be sufficient to deter Courtney from proceeding further. Yes, and he goes on, he does not wish to embarrass anybody, but he is adamant that the views he believes are expounded by are not the representative of those held by the majority of black people or are the interests of the black community. Do you have any views on the course of action proposed? Because they did not know what to do. In the end, when I inquired what's happened to my complaint, I was told, drop it or you could be seen as a troublemaker. So I dropped it. That complaint never came to fruit. Okay? So years later now, we are where we are. Right. And I go on now, and as again, I think I told you before, everything they're saying that is unsubstantiated. Remember, as I said, when Ken Livingston first made his accusation about the cab trade, calling it a white mafia and a white male-dominated club, and I wrote the article in the Taxi Times, which was backed by Tom Scullion, who helped me to get through to where I was. Okay? It was Tom Scullion who got me the lawyer. This is the letter from the lawyer, which gave me up until the 4th of September 2001 to take TFL to any county court to sue them for through the race relations. Okay? Because they did not want to give me the job. That's how I end up getting the job. Because then you called me to Windsor House and you asked me to relinquish it, which I did. Then you gave me the interview. And next thing I knew, I had the job. So when you came for me, telling me to come and take pictures with the mayor, and when I refused, and you then said to me, I got to remember how I got the job. Well, this was how I got the job. Because I threatened you with a lawyer. That's how I got it. Alright. So we can go through all. I have so much of this stuff here. And what I want to talk about is, look, what they've done is, as I said, with this whole Uber business. Now, we can go and look at other things. This is a cash cow for TFL. The mayor keeps saying he hasn't got the power to stop the number of licenses. Well, let me listen to something here. Unless I am a direct buffoon and idiot, I'm trying to read this in layman terms and understand it. It is the general power of the Greater London Authority, which is the ones who gave TFL the mandate to do what they're doing. The general authority headed by the mayor. It says here, the authority shall have the power to do anything which it considers will further any one or more of its principal purposes. So what is the mayor's principal purposes? Number one, promoting economic development and wealth creation in Greater London. Okay. Promoting social development in Greater London and promoting the improvement of the environment in Greater London. Flooding the streets of London with all of these cars, causing, and then you might use the excuse, oh yeah, but they're hybrids. Well, what about all the lorries and the diesel vehicles that they're causing now to have to stand still? How are you improving the environment? No, you've seen a way to make easy money, and you'll make it at any cost. Okay? Right. It goes on here and it says here, yes, and I'll skip clause 3 and we'll go to clause 4. In determining whether or how to exercise the power conferred by subsection 1 above, the authority shall have regard to the effect which the proposed exercise of the power would have on the health of persons in Greater London and the achievement of the substantial development in the United Kingdom. Now, with you causing all this disruption and this congestion, are you improving the health of the persons of London? Or as a matter of fact, the whole environment? But this is what your act says. This is the Greater London Authority Act of 1999, unless you've revised it. But this is what your act says. But you've gone totally against it. Then you come and tell us, oh, you can't stop the licenses. And I want to say this now, and damn the consequences. Because I believe the mayor is now in a dilemma. And what is that dilemma, you may ask? And this is why the political correctness is no good. And people need to have a new watchword. Don't call it political correctness no more. Call it political corruptness for what it is. Because it corrupts the minds of the people. Okay, this is why we now have Donald Trump as a president. And you're all regretting it. Because you caused him to be there. This is why we have Brexit. Okay? Now you're regretting it. You caused this. Not the people you say you're standing up for. So let's look at this thing good. The mayor. You were quick. Well, not you, but many people were quick. Oh, this is London showing its diversity. Our first Muslim mayor. You were quick to do that. Okay? Right. And you got in on that ticket. Okay. Now we have a situation where you have this company and every minute something is coming up. Either women are being molested, they're having the amount of accidents, the whole lot that's happening. And remember what you said, Mr. Mayor, before you became mayor. They should never have had a license. Now, as far as I see it, every human being has a conscience. And I believe this mayor's conscience is now troubled, because if it wasn't, then he truly isn't what he says he is then. You got there, as I said, being the first Muslim mayor. But most of these Uber drivers are of the same faith as you. Are you telling me now it hasn't crossed your mind that if you take away Uber's license, you now put thousands of people of the same faith as you out of work? Don't tell me this hasn't crossed your mind. And if you're willing to give Uber a license and allow this to carry on the streets of London, then you should not be mayor. This is one of the very reasons why I would not let them take no pictures with me and the mayor, that you could go and say, oh, London gets its first Rastafarian knowledge of London. You're not doing that with me. I will stand up for the white man if he's right, or the white woman if they're right. I'll stand for the black man or woman if they're right. I'll stand for anybody who, if they're right. If you're wrong, I'll stand for none. Okay? But because you went there with your PC agenda, you now find yourself in a very difficult position. And I believe that. Many people are not going to say it, like many things in this country. And again, I will draw her as an example, Sarah Champion. And people should keep saying her name, Sarah Champion, because she should not have resigned. Anyway, right. So you are now allowing this on the streets of London. You've got guys out there, yes, men, as I said, because of the way TfL license the private hire, that you allow people to just come as individuals from anywhere in the country and get these licenses. You have got people who have them to beat the congestion charge. Now what should have happened is, if you want to give people these licenses, what should have happened when you took your car to these test centers? Then you should have been made to produce your hire and reward. Not a fully comprehensive insurance, your hire and reward, in order to have that roundel on your car. But TfL did not do this. So we have, and I think if I'm correct, I go back to Inspector Neil Billany, who actually talks about it, the congestion charge, in his article. Okay, and I'm just reading through quick to see where he said it. But he has mentioned it with the congestion and everything, and I'm trying to find it. But guys, it's here. If you can get the article, it is here. Yes, and I don't want to prolong on it, but it is here in his article, written in the Sunday Times, and I forgot the date now, but it's in the Sunday Times. There we go. Yes, but his article is here, where Inspector Billany wrote. Yes, now, again, as I said, you've got people now, and do you know how much thousands of pounds this city is losing? And then this mayor says he cannot stop people from getting these licenses. Then what kind of mayor have we got here? Okay? Now, again, as I said, you know, you have, for instance, the police officers, for instance. They don't do much because they're literally told, oh, let the cameras do it. Or they have more important things to do. Well, hang on a minute. We see what's going on in this city here now. And it's even happened the other day in Barcelona. And yes, I am going to equate it to it. Because you're giving people the, I mean, I don't want no one getting any ideas out there, but you're giving people that opportunity to use these vehicles for that kind of thing. Because you do not allow the police to do their job. And I say to the police officers out there, if any of you are watching this, when you took an oath to become a police officer, you did not take it to TFL or you did not take it to the Mayor of London. You took your oath to the Queen of this country to uphold the law, however minor. That's who you took your oath to. So anywhere you see wrongdoing, whether it be TFL, the Mayor's office, even if it's me, then you're supposed to deal with it, however minor. And don't tell me that some inspector out there hasn't got the inkling that some of these cars have not got the correct insurance. Then why aren't you doing anything about it? Remember who you took your oath to. And it wasn't to the mayor or TFL. It was to the Queen of this country. So if that's the case, then you should honor it. Or don't be a policeman at all. Right. So let me carry on here, because right now this has got to a situation where we have corrupt people running TFL. And all they're looking at is the amount of money they can make. They're allowing Uber to get away with murder. We have Toyota, who has invested in Uber to get these cars on the streets of London. Nobody's bothered whether these guys have the proper documents or not. And I say to all of you out there, whether you're a politician, whether you're an ordinary citizen, whoever, as long as you keep getting in these cars, then you support law breaking, you support these guys out there raping and assaulting women, and you do it turning a blind eye because you'd rather have the money. Yes, I accuse you all of that. Okay? You would rather have the money more than look out for the safety of the public. And if that's the way you feel, then stop doing the regular MOT checks on the buses. Stop carrying out the regular checks on the railways. Just let them run into the ground and earn as much money as you want. Because that's what you're doing with the cab trade. You're issuing these licenses at a rate of naught. And there are many people out there I hear would say, oh yes, it's sour grapes he's doing, or he's ranting, or he's... Well, look, as again, I will keep saying this till the cows come home. Because every single London cab driver out here who's done the knowledge, man or woman, black or white, okay, did not go through what they go through for TFL to come and just disregard us like this. They call it taxi private hire. Well, I say right now the two should be separated, because this is a marriage that's not working. We are two totally different entities. Two totally different. We have to follow all the regulations that's issued to us. Yet you allow these guys to do what they want. And there's something else here as well. You know, we talk about the leasing of vehicles. Many of these guys lease their vehicle. A lot of people lease vehicles. Okay? But now, you got to ask yourself the question. Hang on and I'll come to you, right? Here we go. I'll just wait for my thing to, it says here, can I use my lease car as a taxi. And it says here, right, in the question we don't often get asked, you may be a taxi driver or just starting out as one. Well, let's say a minicab, because minicab and a taxi is not the same. They're two totally different things. Right. As you have seen how cheap car leasing can be. So can you take advantage of this and use a leased car as a taxi? Well, yes and no. In this article, we'll look at whether you can use your leased car as a taxi. It says here, in some circumstances, yes. The chances are you will not be able to get a leased car through your average vehicle broker. There are companies that specialize in leasing cars for taxis. In my time as an OSV, almost 3 years, I have only come across one manufacturer that has sent through deals specially for private hire cars. However, that's not to say you can't. You just have to go through a company that specializes in leasing taxis. Well, has TFL bothered to check this? Again, you'd rather get the money than think, because I'm sure if that's not the case, then how can your insurance be valid? As a private hire driver, how can it be valid? It goes on here and it says, well, we've said that you can't really use a lease car as a taxi unless you have a specialized agreement with a specialized company. Yes? Then it says here, what about a personal contract purchase? While the premise of a personal contract purchase is the same as a personal contract hire, there is a difference at the end of the contract, which it tells you can either return the car, or you can trade it in for a new one, or you can pay the bulk, this balloon payment, and keep it. And then it goes on here, so you might be still wondering whether you can use your personal contract purchase as a taxi. Unfortunately, the answer is still no. Right. Can you use a lease car as an Uber? The ride-sharing app that has taken the world by storm. By the way, the ride-sharing that TFL will not allow black cabs to do. But you allow these guys to do it. Who you are not checking properly. And let's put a scenario in here now. And this to the public who like these cars. You're in one of your private car sharing pool things. And this guy is driving around picking up people here and there. And the next person he picks up turns around and pull a gun and rob everybody in the car. What's TFL going to say then? And people who do this ride sharing, you need to think about this also. Okay? I am not saying it's going to happen, but there's a first time for everything. And in my book, prevention is better than cure. Alright, so we go back to this. The ride-sharing app has taken the world by storm, but the answer is still no. It is essentially a private hire car, and therefore you can't lease it. So, has TFL looked into this? I bet you they haven't. Again, and I will keep saying it, all they are interested in is the money. That's all they want. It's a cash cow. And the government, and I'm talking the government in power now, you allow this. You are also aiding and abetting law breaking. See it however you want to. I speak in layman terms. I don't know all these political proper words to say. I speak like the ordinary person on the street. Okay? And you, the government, you are allowing people to break the law. So don't go around playing high and mighty when you allow this. Yeah? And you are allowing it to take place all over the country. I said it before a little while ago, there are drivers in other parts of this country suffering because you have allowed this. And I say those councils in those other cities, you should remove any driver you see with these wrong holdalls in your city. Remove them. Do not let them operate in your city. Okay, this is what TFL has done. And then now, as I said, so nobody's checking this leasing business. When a driver leases a car, if he's allowed to have it as a private hire vehicle or work for Uber, as this thing is showing you here. And my argument is, if this is wrong, then whoever has written it should be sued for slander. Right. So we come now to the cab, the black cab. You force the black cab driver to take the credit card. And remember, I spoke about this before. We are not objecting to taking credit cards, because that's the way of the world now. Okay? No London cab driver has a problem with taking credit cards. What we have a problem with is the underhanded way TFL has done this to make the cab driver take it. You now say, oh, you've put 20 pence on the meter to compensate for that loss, not making the passenger pay the charge on the credit card. Well, hang on a minute. And now, again, this is to the public. And I'm talking about the public who gets in a black cab and pays cash. Not credit card now, cash. Why are you paying the extra 20 pence? For something you have not. Yeah? For something you have not used. Because every member of the public who gets in a black cab and pays the full fare. And please, I don't want drivers to think now I'm trying to make people create anarchy. Okay? I don't want people to think that. What I'm trying to show you is what TFL has done. Alright? They've done this all because somebody is getting big money for doing what they've done. And I believe a lot of these unions are involved also. Okay? Somebody's getting money for this. Right. So, the public who pays cash, why are you paying that extra 20 pence? I know you may think it's nothing, but look, let me check now when they put a penny on income tax, for instance. Some people say, oh, what's a penny? Now, you've got 60-something million people in Britain. Many of those people work. Do you know how many pennies that adds up to? Yeah? Do you know how many pennies that adds up to? Right. So, the main thing is this. Yes? People need to start looking. I would say to passengers, if you pay cash in a cab, get a receipt and reclaim your 20 pence from TFL. Yeah? Because, guys, this is not right what they've done. And as I said, we don't mind taking the credit cards, but the way they've done it, it should not have been done. Okay? So, again, before I go, because I have to go now, I have a lesson to go and do, but I will return to this and other things. Yes? But I have a lesson to go and do now, and we will speak at a later date. Thank you.